increased my psychic and intuitive abilities and intensified my feelings. I tried to ignore it, but it persisted. Time to tell my story. I am a human sharing some of my soul's stories, not an academic or writer. Doctor after doctor telling a woman, "It's all in your head, you're just getting older," confuses her when she knows her health is bad. If her family's love wasn't enough, she'd quit. It was true for me. I knew I was failing quickly and would die if the source wasn't found soon. I don't know if the doctors couldn't get past my trauma or if women are tougher to diagnose. As I died terribly and senselessly, I knew no one was doing anything. They saw me as a symbol of PTSD's physical damage. It felt like there was more. If this last doctor failed, I would quit fighting for my life. That was my demand. The appointment was months away, making waiting tough. A few months here and there added up to 5 years for me. My disease took 5 long years to diagnose. This incredible truth did not stop the daily commotion nearby. I worked hard to sell our home and move to our family farm at the end of 1989. My father-in-law wanted us to rehabilitate the property so he could be proud. Our 1990 farmhouse fire devastated us after we spent our life savings repairing it. Only the clothes we were wearing and the ones in the hamper at the abandoned house we were selling remained. After my father-in-law died in 1992, we revealed the truth about my mother-in-law. My resolution was the only thing that got me through 5 years of constant stress. The female doctor examined the patient thoroughly in March 1994 and discovered no problems. She said her office would notify me of the typical pap smear results. Regular pap smears showed I was healthy, so my family and I went to Colorado as planned. Colorado sapped my strength. It felt like I was losing energy. I tried hard to smile all weekend. Our doctor's office left many messages on our answering machine when we returned home. Every communication felt urgent. I was advised to report to the office shortly after calling. My doctor advised further testing after the pap smear. A cone biopsy was promised to treat any cervical cancer I might have. However, the cone biopsy and other tests showed that the cancer had spread to my lymph nodes and surrounding tissues, indicating late-stage disease. She originally wanted to blame me for not getting the exams that would have caught the cancer sooner, which could have been treated with a few easy surgery. After hearing I had many pap screenings and seen other doctors, she was more tolerant. She knew the cancer should never have progressed this far. Finally, I agreed with her. I needed emergency, life-changing surgery, the doctor said. Based on her explanation, I should expect a radical hysterectomy and lymph node removal. Her lack of lymph node removal experience required a second doctor. In case I survived, the lymph node removal would cause my lower body to swell until it could no longer swell. Skin swelling and stiffness can be excruciating. My surgery and pre-op testing were scheduled for the next week before I left the doctor's office. After my friends begged me for a second opinion, I called a recommended New York hospital. I got an emergency appointment after submitting my medical history and diagnosis. Surgery was urgent, as stated at the appointment. My doctor suggested a radical hysterectomy, which would remove my uterus, cervix, and a large part of my vagina. The operation's appearance would determine whether I had my ovaries removed, which I wouldn't know until afterward. Lymph nodes from the hips to the upper back and under the rib cage must be extracted and tested to determine cancer spread. What was happening shocked me. Too much pondering was needed. I was relieved when someone acknowledged I was truly unwell after years of seeing many doctors. I wanted to cry thinking about the dreadful things the doctor said to me years ago. Many responded, "It's all in your head." One stated, "You women make me sick. You're all afraid of getting older. It's just your hormones changing." Their opinions were untrue, but it didn't change my words. The doctor who caused my most suffering concentrated on my record, marking lines with different colors. "Did I tell you to speak? You will speak when I ask you to, and not before." I was going to add, but when he stopped me off and said, "I didn't tell you to speak," I was attempting to explain that I was there because I had a strong feeling something was terribly wrong with. I felt so bad I almost stopped caring about a diagnosis. I felt like my body was dying throughout those 5 years, even though doctors said stress was the only issue. It was so overpowering that I watched ladies in stores, hoping to find someone who could raise my son and love my husband after my death. The thought of not spending eternity with them crushed my heart. It stung so much to discover I was right all along. My family and I had a few days to prepare for the possibility that I would die from a cancer that could have been identified earlier and treated better. Nothing scared me, yet I felt numb. Before my operation, I bought Easter gifts for my 12-year-old kid and pushed myself to smile. I feared the opportunity would never come again. I hated missing his Easter morning enthusiasm as he opened his toys and searched the fake eggs for cash. The adorable little green suit and multicolored tie I purchased him weren't sure if they were Easter or funeral clothes. I was forced to get the operation in New York without thinking. The operation day came too quickly, stripping to my unattractive hospital gown. After that, my husband and father excitedly awaited surgery with me. I expressed my love to them, possibly for the last time, as they placed me onto the gurney, my voice shaking and tears streaming. It was unclear if we would meet again. I closed my eyes, looked up at the ceiling, and muttered, "Thank you, Lord," when I woke up and realized I had survived the procedure. After that, I felt tubes pushing at me from all sides. They were in my nose, neck, spine, abdomen, palm, and hand, along with the dreaded urine bag. Some days later, lymph node testing showed that 1 in 3 were cancerous. Radiation therapy was advised. In a lighter vein, I discovered 2 lingering allergies, one to the orange solution used to sterilize my abdomen and vagina during surgery, and the other to the plastic tape around my neck and spine. It peeled my flesh off. Morphine caused severe migraines, so I stopped taking it. My 2 drain tubes on either side of my tummy weren't sewn tightly during the operation, they told me. Thus, my biological fluids spilled around the tubes instead of inside them. Large, thick pads were taped around the tubes since fluid flowed swiftly. Determine the tape type. Plastic tape exfoliated my body. My exposed flesh was blazing red everywhere. The nurses told me to change the pads myself because they were changed often. I saw one nurse drop an unwrapped gauze pad on the sticky floor, kneel down to pick it up, and try to put it to my open wounds before I intervened. I figured putting them on yourself wouldn't be hard. The next day, I stood up and gingerly pushed my IV fluid and monitor device down the hall as part of my workout. I returned to my room to find the pads surrounding my abdominal tubes moist. It felt like water streaming down my legs. I had no control. Back in my room, I got into bed and tried to replace the pads by lifting my damp hospital gown, but I was too weak. While I regained strength, the fluid soaked my blanket and bedding. As I weakened, I pressed the button to call a nurse. A nurse changed my wet hospital gown, sheets and blanket with dry ones, and I calmly waited. I got the shivers and shivered from the 2 tubes leaking fluid as I waited. Something felt wrong. Cold caused my teeth to rattle. After about an hour, I buzzed the nurse again. And rude nurse said, "I'll get there when I get there." My room door opened after what seemed like a lifetime, and the nurse entered. She threw the hospital gown, sheets, and blanket on my chest and face without checking for injuries. "I don't have time for this. I'm having problems with my husband," the nurse said as she ran outside. My body felt strange when the covers dropped over me. I tried to gasp but failed. My body's weakness prohibited me from lifting my hand to remove the blankets from my face. Tingling went through my trembling, cold body. The sensation overshadowed all hospital sounds. I felt my death coming. Finally, I regretted not saying goodbye to my son, wife, and family. The scene went silent. I looked down from the bed afterward. Just as I realized the body on the bed underneath was myself, my mind wandered. I was dragged into complete darkness suddenly. In total darkness, I smelled something strange. As my sweaty body aged, I felt a cold. In retrospect, I wanted a coat to stay warm. Later, I felt a rising sensation. As I was hoisted up, I felt like I was in an endless, pitch-black tube. I increased my climbing speed. It moved faster than imagined. As I sped through the seemingly unending night, clouds covered my face and eyelashes. Like chilly dew, it felt great. I looked up at the sky. My eyes beheld a magnificent pure white light. It seemed faraway at first. I felt protected, cherished, and at ease when I saw this magnificent, lovely light. My only emotion was a deep, peaceful love that intensified as I approached it. Extreme white light nearly blinded the sight. I wanted to squint just looking at it. I glanced away from the light, fearing it might puncture my eyes, but it didn't. Perhaps the cool mist on my face helped. After my first glance revealed nothing but enormous blackness around and below me, I turned my head back to the light and never glanced down again. I felt more peaceful love as the light got closer and brighter. I stopped ascending suddenly. I still had to squint as my eyes adjusted to the light. Dense, white clouds moved constantly. As the clouds passed, the wind gently flapped my loose, breezy clothes. I also noticed my shoelessness. As I carefully moved through the clouds, I saw this stunning gate, which sparkled. Its beauty left me speechless. Light prisms refracting off the gorgeous stones in every direction were captivating. Because I wanted one for the farm, I tried to remember every detail of the driveway gate. As I got closer, its shimmering pearls reflected the light. Before entering the region of amazing peace through the gates, I never felt fear. I tried hard to see through the shifting clouds and dazzling light, but it was impossible. Then I saw a faint glimpse of something to the right, which made me narrow my eyes more. Two silhouettes appeared when the clouds parted slightly. It looked like a man and a woman. I felt like they were waiting for me even though I didn't know them. Right before my vision improved, the clouds gathered around the couple. Again, I could only see clouds passing past. I wondered why the clouds came in so swiftly before my eyes were ready to die. I also noticed someone standing immediately ahead of me. Clouds covered his silhouette, and I lost sight of him. Standing before him, I felt immeasurable affection. No one can comprehend such intense affection. My epiphany came while I was before God in paradise. Standing before him, I felt like he knew me. I felt silly for not recognizing the gates I had just crossed as the pearly gates. I looked to my right for a moment. The tremendous brilliance of the light, or my own inaptitude, confused me. He seemed to read my mind as he said, "Fear not, for thou art worthy of my love." Tears filled my eyes and a lump formed in my throat. Always got a confirmation or explanation when I questioned, "Are you sure?" My life was evaluated and clarified in an instant. If I had to define our Lord in one word, it would be love. Inexplicable. The sun and clouds obscured his face, but I could feel his affection. He was there in front of me. His voice was full of love, strength, and peace, but I don't know if he spoke. Without speaking, we seemed to sense, hear, and react to each other. Someone told me to return. I could have done more before my tragic death. I was told to defend my wife and son from this person. I was about to ask more inquiries when it went dark again. I remembered gasping for air in the hospital bed. My right arm could remove the blanket, sheets, and medical gowns, concealing my face this time. A sigh escaped. When the hospital sounds returned, the pain returned. I was shaking and chattering my teeth. My depleted hospital robe and linens showed my fragility. I returned with regret. I felt no pain in heaven. None of my incisions or tubes were visible. Feeling complete, I was strong. I was loved beyond imagination. While staring at the sky, I nodded timidly to show my understanding. After that, I slept. Finally, the nurse arrived. She nonchalantly approached my bed and said, "You're right, you were soaked." She changed my hospital gown, but then she noticed that the linens she had thrown on me were also damp, so she got more. While changing me into a dry medical gown, she told me about her bad day and marital troubles. She was having a bad day, and I was thinking about how I died, so I only partially paid attention while she rambled. I am confident I did not speak during her stay there. On my wonderful home, I had a million ideas. After various medical issues, including radiation therapy, my battle for survival restarted, and I began to sense the ghosts of the dead. Despite my best efforts, I can't control my feelings. All thoughts are devoured by it. Every time, my mind doesn't shut down, but I'm too tired to sleep. It exhausts me whenever this happens. No one has believed me when I've told them. Who would have believed I saw hell while shaking an attorney's hand? A melancholy presence at my friend's cottage wouldn't let me go until I helped her. Even weeks before September 11th, I could feel the city's looming death toll as I passed by. I know I woke up on 9/11. I learned the heavenly couple's identity and instructions. My intuition told me the stock market would plummet before it did. I thought Vice President Gore would be a bad president. As I watched NBC News correspondent David Bloom report on the Iraq War, I feared he would die. My thoughts regarding someone I know well or through friends might range from little to major. Unusual events can be as easy as hearing, seeing, or touching someone or their stuff. My life was changed by this powerful event. After seeing the beautiful afterlife, I no longer fear dying. I write to give struggling people purpose, comfort, or hope, even though I'm not a writer. The next near